Welcome to our city, and here's a quick note before we start this week's segment. On September 4th, City Hall will be closed in honor of Labor Day. If you need any information concerning any events going on in the city this week, please contact the Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. And we'll be back after these words for this week's segment. Thank you.
Offering everything you could want from college, including a life. Kane University.
Welcome back to our city. I'm pleased to be joined by Mr. Rod Spearman here as we discuss this year's African American Heritage Day Parade in the city of Elizabeth. Welcome back to the show, Rod.
Oh, thank you for having me.
How have you been?
Been well. Things are good.
Staying in shape?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we're going to stop right there for you and I.
Okay.
This year's African American Heritage Day Parade, what's the route for this year?
Well, the route this year is actually the same route it was last year. We're going to start at Union Square and New Point Road and come down Elizabeth Avenue and then end at City Hall.
Okay. And how many years has this been a tradition here in the city of Elizabeth?
This is the 17th year that we've been doing it. Yolanda Edie Perkins has been doing it the last 10 years. It was started in 2000 and then to 2010 by Charlotte Brown, who did an excellent job in creating it and starting the program. And we've been blessed to maintain it and keep it going.
Each year you go above and beyond, and I know the work is very hard to say the least. But what's the theme for the parade this year, and who are the Grand Marshals?
Well, we're honoring all the past athletes in the city of Elizabeth, and we're asking all of them to participate as a Grand Marshal. We're also recognizing James McPherson, the Bells bondsman from Max Bell Bonds. And so he's one of the Grand Marshals and all the athletes in the city of Elizabeth from the past.
Okay. I know you sit here alone, but you don't put this together by yourself. Quite sure there's several people and organizations involved. What are some of the organizations?
Well, we have a number of people there. Elizabeth, City of Elizabeth, Union County Freeholders, Pepsi-Cola Corporation is involved, and those are the key sponsors, plus individuals and that are helping us to do this.
And at the table planning, what's some of the
groups?
The
table planning, there is Elizabeth Police Department, Lateef Banks, Yolanda Edie Perkins, her husband. There is I can't remember everybody offhand. I know I'm going to forget somebody.
Fire department.
The fire department, the Clinton family, Trinitas Hospital, Willie Thomas, one of the nurses there, Urban League, Union County, the Young Urban League professionals, and there's a host of other folks. But once again, the Elizabeth Police Department is very involved. City Fire Department is also.
I ask each and every group that I have the opportunity to talk to, what's the hardest part of putting together a parade?
The hardest part of putting together a parade is in advertising and getting people highly motivated and interested to come out and see the parade. Another issue and challenge always is getting drum corps, bands, and folks like that for the music to participate in the parade and advertise. And I think once more, the most critical part about it is getting the community connected and involved and want to come down and see the African American Heritage Parade.
Each year the parade takes a different theme, a different focus, but what's the importance of this parade within our community?
The focus and the most important part of it always, we feel, is that it shows and demonstrates the history of the African American community in Elizabeth, and it's a part of that history that needs to be shared and shown that the African American community has always been a vital part of Elizabeth and will do so to maintain that being a vital part of the community.
Now, I know nationwide it's been a decline and decrease in marching bands and getting people to participate in parades, but if you can, just name two or three or a few people who will be marching in this year's parade for you.
Well, we have, once again, the young African American professionals, the AKAs. There are several other groups. There's a group, Pathfinder Group Marching Drum Corps out of Newark that's coming to participate with us. We anticipate the Elizabeth High School Band will be there also. And And those are just to name a few. Once again, the Urban League, the NAACP, the churches in Elizabeth, and brothers of someone and sisters of someone. So we have a large cadre of folks that plan to come and participate.
So the parade is September 10th, and let's just say last year was September 10th. When do you start planning? September 11th, 12th? Or?
You're absolutely right. We start the next day to plan this parade. We began planning this parade the next week. We also had a program during the Valentine's weekend, a fundraiser, an African weekend parade. An African American festival gala that we honored folks there to raise money to help go towards the parade. So yes.
And how does the parade raise awareness and support the members of our Elizabeth community?
What it does, it helps the whole city of Elizabeth. Remember the history that we've had in African Americans to participate in the city of Elizabeth. It also helps her to garner and strengthen our education of our young people to know their past, because without their knowing their past, they will miss knowing where they go in the future. And so that's one of the strengths of it. It also helps us bind us as a community to see all of us, parts of the community, whether African American, other folks, the richness and the multicultural and the melting pot that the city of Elizabeth had, and how strong the African American community has been involved in its history and sustaining it and helping the city to grow.
Now, I know we mentioned the date several times, Sunday, September 10th. What time does this all kick off?
It starts at 12 o'clock. We start lining up, and the parade actually kicks off at 1 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. My mistake. 2 o'clock. I'm so glad you were part of the committee to help me out.
And you line up at 12 o'clock. Does it take that long to get everybody?
Yes, it does. It takes that long for folks to get organized, the groups to come, to set up, to line up, and there's usually someone that's going to be late to make sure that get them in the right location and the right planning and organizing. And because in these parades and planning, and I'm part of the lead out team, there's usually that time. There's always some confusion. Right. There's always someone that's going to be late. But it actually operates smoothly at the end. And that's because of the volunteers that we have. We have a whole lot of volunteers, which I didn't name. I can't remember all, that come that day to sign people up, to line people up. And not even that, once they get to the end of the parade, to make sure everything is coordinated and working together. So it takes time to get organized and planned, and then it takes time to move people out. And it also takes time in making sure the parade is not stretched so wide and far that you miss one section or people are dragging behind.
And it's Sunday, September 10th, 2 o'clock, and you start off where?
We start off once again at Union Square and Elizabeth Avenue. That's where it starts, New Point Road.
This is a tough one for you. If you had to pick one spot and say, hey, this is the best spot in the route, is there such thing, or is it?
No, there's not a best spot in the right. The whole parade is lined through the whole city. Is the best spot to be. However, at the end, you should all gather down in front of City Hall. Now that's where at the end, that is the very, very, very best of the spot, because we'll have vendors and folks out there advertising, selling food, activities for the kids, and then also once again honoring and recognizing the Elizabeth athletes and Mr. McPherson. So that's where at the end of the parade you should be, but should be along the whole line of the parade, gathering out, bringing your family, bringing your kids, bringing everyone. There's also an opportunity at the end of the parade too. We ask the seniors come, because we set up a tent for them to sit and watch and recognize our seniors and take care of them at the parade.
Is there a contact number or some information?
There is a contact number. Let me look it up, because at the end of my sheet there's Yolanda Edie, and she can be, you can contact her at Yolanda Edie Perkins, 908-220-6113. Once again, 908-220-6113, or on Facebook at African American at the African American site parade.com. And then there's this African American Parade UC 2015.
You and I, we tease each other all the time, but keep your glasses with you.
All right, I will do that. And you know the other part? Come and lose some weight so you can button your coat.
You're telling the truth. You're 100% right.
Yes, right.
Thank you for joining this segment of Our City. Have a great and wonderful week, and we'll be back with the second half after these words. Thank you.
We're an American original, dependable, historic, nuanced, with all the comforts of home, even when you're just visiting. So we're celebrating for all that we've left untouched and all that we've changed. A place where the past meets the future. So consider this your invitation.
We've been celebrating here in Elizabeth for 350 years, and we're just getting started.
Welcome back to the second half of our city, where I'm pleased to be joined by the Director of Health and Human Services for the City of Elizabeth, Director Krishna. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Good.
Our topic now is called Bless Fest 2017. What is Bless Fest?
So Bless Fest is a day of giving or a day of dignity to people in need. So it's a day that we actually prepare food packets to give out to families, school supplies to give out to kids, medical assessments for everyone who attends, as well as a hot meal that day, a warm blanket, hats, gloves, scarves.
That's a great endeavor. And Bless Fest, how did it begin, and who organizes this event?
So it was started 12 years ago by my husband, who you know is deceased. It was something that he started 12 years ago, and when he passed away 5 years ago, we decided we wanted to keep it alive as a way of remembering him. So there is a group of us who come together, who volunteer every year to make this happen. It has a number of supporters, but the volunteers are basically people who have been involved for the last 12 years.
Now, you know this is an event that you can do probably weekly, unfortunately you
Right.
could, but how does this event benefit, how does the community benefit from this event?
Well, in a lot of ways. I mean, we do a survey every year, and we're expanding that this year. We're actually are partnering with Shaping Elizabeth to expand the survey questions so that we can gather more information about what the needs are of residents and those that are in need in the community. We get anywhere from about 450 to 500 people on that day who come out. So it's a good opportunity to really capture data. So that's something that we're adding a little different this year. Well, just going a little deeper this year. In the past, a lot of the questions have really just been focused on what do you need?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's been helpful because there's interesting things that you learn, like you think that you know what someone would need if they're homeless or struggling financially. But I always say that, we give out toilet paper every year, and it was because of the surveys that we learned that oftentimes when you're homeless, you need to use the bathroom, that, you need to have a traveling roll of toilet paper with you. And so that's something that we add, or, razors for men or sanitary napkins for women. And so those are things that we've begun to add based on those survey questions.
Now, over the years, I think you've had eye exams and blood pressure.
Yes.
What are some of the other exams you've provided?
So we have eye exams, dental exams, blood pressure, your glucose level. Sometimes we'll have nurses out checking people's feet. So for example, the homeless spend a lot of time on their feet, or the working poor who might have, podiatry issues that need to be addressed, but they don't generally go to a podiatrist. So they may be able to assess something like that. We give out flu shots. So the public health nurses from the city come out and give out free flu shots.
And this is not strictly for homeless.
It's not. So we tend to get a large homeless population because the event takes place at Mount Teman AME Church.
Right.
And it happens on the same day that they do their monthly feeding.
Okay.
So I would say your percentage of the population is homeless, which is great because, again, it's an opportunity to get them the supplies that they need, but it's for anyone who's in need. So we get seniors, we get working poor families, just anyone who's in need.
Okay. How could you best guess or give me a number of how many agencies or groups you think will be there?
Oh, wow. We get tons of volunteers. So I probably get about 100 to 125 volunteers for the event. And it's been so great because we've been doing this for so long, and it always happens the same date in September, third Saturday in September for the last 12 years. So people have become so accustomed to kind of planning for it. So the volunteers start calling me when it gets, to be August and say, okay, I just want you to know that I'll be there for Bless Fest. So Organizations, I would say easily 20, 25 organizations.
Right. So someone gets in line, they walk through, there's items for them to take home with them. There's the screening, and then there's a meal.
Yes, a hot meal that they are able to go downstairs and eat in the church, that the church prepares. So usually it's, spaghetti or, chicken or something, but a full meal.
And what if it's beyond the individual? What if it's a full family of 4?
That's fine.
Can
The
you
whole
accommodate
family
them?
can come and eat, or sometimes people want to take it to go, and that's fine too. We make sure we provide to-go containers. But normally when they're in the line and the event starts at 11, and we usually have people lined up 8 a.m., 9 o'clock in the morning. So we try to make sure that we make that as dignified as possible. So we'll pass out, water and give seniors a chair so that they can sit down. That's where the survey happens, and we have people in line, volunteers who speak English, Creole, and Spanish, so that we can gather as much information and really communicate well. The first thing they'll come to is kind of a check-in spot where they pick up their bag, an empty bag, and then we have HIV testing, and then we'll have, there'll be voter registration and all of the other medical screenings.
Right.
And then, and we also have a screening for prostate and breast cancer screening that happens upstairs inside the church in a private area. And then they go downstairs, they're able to have a hot meal. Once they come up on the other side, they get a grocery bag, and they're able to pick up fresh fruit that's donated by Wakefern. They're able to pick up grocery items that are also donated by Wakefern and ShopRite. So it's usually spaghetti sauce, a loaf of bread, a box of cereal.
Right.
And then the final items are like those heavier, we'll have blankets, school supplies.
Now you're naming a lot of great things there, but how do you get them? Who are the contributors for this event?
So we work very closely with a number of different politicians who support. So our mayor always sponsors blankets every year. We have our freeholder Granados who always sponsors in some way, whether it's bags. I think this year he's doing socks. So that's great. We have our Senator Lesniak, and he always donates, works with Wakefern to get us a ShopRite donation, so that we're able to go purchase the items from ShopRite. So he always helps us to get gift cards. We have Assemblyman Jamel Holly, who participates every year, has from day one, and he always sponsors 400 loaves of bread.
Right.
We have Councilman Manny Grover, who always helps to support with a donation, Councilman Torres, Councilwoman Patricia Perkins-Auguste, who always helps us to buy the sanitary items for the women, and that's something that she's taken on as a personal cause every year, make sure she drops off her donation. Obviously, we couldn't do it without the church, right? So Mount Teman is absolutely wonderful.
Right.
Their church volunteers prepare and serve 450 meals on that day, and clean up, and it's just unbelievable.
It's amazing because you work every day, you have a roof over your head, and you have food. Some of the things you take for granted.
Yes.
And once you're there and you hear someone say socks,
Right.
do you have socks?
Right.
And you say, why is somebody getting so excited over socks?
Right.
But these are things we take for granted on a
absolutely.
day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
Toothpaste. I've seen people get excited over toothpaste.
Yep. We had a little girl in line one day, and we let whether child or adult, every
Right.
person gets to get their own bag and take their own items. So, if you're a kid, you get to pick your cereal, right? And it's your cereal and your blanket. So she picked up a bar of soap, and she looked at her mom, and she said, I can take a shower tonight with soap. Right? And you say, wow, we're giving you soap, but thinking that it's going to help you to, make it through the end of the month, but she was planning on using that today so she could take a shower with soap. And, so we take it for granted, because those things, if we don't have it, we run out and buy it, right? But if they run out, then you wait until the next time you get some.
Volunteering is a great reminder, because you say, okay, you need toothpaste, go to the dollar store, pick one up real quick. But there are some people, unfortunately, who don't have that luxury.
Right.
So that's one day that someone can come by and say, and express the fact that I have a need, and the people are there at the tables to say we can
Absolutely.
make a referral.
Right. So, we can make a referral to the Y if you need, more permanent housing, or the medical referrals are there, which, we've done a assessment of someone and found that their blood pressure is high, and, we have, call the paramedics or get them some help for whatever that situation is.
Now go back for a second. I know we've talked about the food and clothing, but you touched on housing.
Yes.
If someone's in need of assistance with housing, you can make a referral
We
for that
can.
also?
We can make a referral, and we have in the past when it's been necessary. Yeah.
And off the top of your head, I know you're taking thousands or hundreds of questionnaires, but what's one of the top needs that you can think of real quick?
From the perspective of something physical, like an item,
Yes,
or
from an item.
so because jobs always comes up,
Right.
and when jobs, housing, that jobs are always number one. The toilet paper was something that came up that was surprising to us. The blankets were something that people were really grateful for. I think that people choose not to really spend money on a blanket, right? So the fact that every person in your family is getting their own blanket, it's a more expensive item for us to be able to find donations for,
Right.
but it's something that's so needed, through the winter.
And we're going to go off on a tangent slightly, but you mentioned prostate checkups. Is it difficult making men get a checkup?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? I'm not going to ask you if you've gone to get yours checked.
Unfortunately, I went through the whole procedure, but
Good. It's very difficult,
Right.
and we try all kinds of incentives. We'll give extra if someone gets a breast exam or a prostate exam. We might do an extra gift that
Right.
they get, sort of as an encouragement for them doing that. But it's really, if we have 450, 500 people come, if we get 5 people to get a prostate exam, we're excited that we've.
so you have to think of an incentive, and somewhere down the lines, even beyond Bless Fest,
Oh, absolutely.
throughout the year, throughout the month of September, I think is.
Well, the city, we've been talking about
Right.
this, right? It's like, how do we get men out? And, I have this idea that I'd love for us to do like a beer garden, and really let's have beer and hot dogs and get your prostate checked, right? Watch, and I know you guys
Right.
talked about watching a football game as
Yeah.
a way, to bring the men together and then getting prostate checked.
But you think
So,
it's second nature, you go for physical,
Right.
blood pressure, whatever, it's down the line, you have to do it. But,
yeah, but most men avoid it.
all right, well, we'll come up with a way and we'll think of something.
But the interesting thing is that if you talk to people and you say, well, do you know someone who's had prostate cancer? So many of us know someone who's had prostate cancer, right? So it's really important that people get checked, but they don't.
Okay, so they know if they come out on September 23rd.
September 23rd. So if people want to volunteer, we welcome volunteers. People are free to call me, but they don't have to. They can show up that morning as early as 8 a.m. We start setting up at 8. We carry the boxes up and set everything up on the tables. We feed our volunteers both breakfast and lunch, so they should feel free to come on out and volunteer. We just ask that people don't bring small children because it is a security risk, because there's so many people and we don't know
Right.
who's there and what their disposition is.
In addition to volunteers, are there any other items that you need to stand out?
So if people want to donate items, our only request is that they're new items. So we don't give out used items on
Right.
that day because it is a day of dignity. So we try to give all new items. Pretty much, we're open. Just think about, if you were in need, if you were homeless, again, socks are a big one because they're a big expense item. So if people want to donate packages of socks,
Right.
razors are another one. Like I said, the sanitary napkins are big for women. But pretty much anything that's a new
Right.
item that we can give out, stuff for kids,
Okay.
coloring books, crayons, that kind of thing, for entertainment.
All right. And prior to us closing, any closing remarks from you? Anything? Is there a number they should contact, or?
Sure. They can call me, 908-906-2032.
Okay.
That's my phone number.
And again, the date and time?
It's September 23rd. We start setting up at 8 a.m. for volunteers. We start serving at 11 o'clock, and we end by like 2. We've served everyone by about
Right.
2, and then we clean up and we're out of there for the day. And
And you're at Mount Teman Church?
we're at Mount Teman AME
Madison.
Church. It's on Madison Avenue, right across from the YMCA or from the funeral home, from Nesbitt Funeral Home.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And much continued success, and continue this. It's
Thank
very
you.
neat and very important.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this week of Our City. I want everyone to have a safe and wonderful week. Thank you.
Sometimes you learn by helping others learn. Kane University.